So if you feel like life is like out of control and you're in survival mode and everything's going crazy and you're just trying to do life as normal, I just got some news for you. You really can't. And let's get into why. So in this video today, I'm gonna talk about 6 things moms can't do when they're in survival mode. This isn't gonna make you feel more stressed. I'm hoping this is gonna relieve some burdens, which is like totally my goal. So the first things moms just can't do well or at all when they're in survival mode, and that is to think straight. That's right, you can't even think straight. If your brain is just all jumbled up, your nervous system is crazy, your problems are just reeling through, maybe you're in a crisis, or maybe it's just a hard season of life, you've got a little one, they're not sleeping, they're not listening, they're sick, maybe you're thinking a diagnosis is coming down the pipeline, you're moving, you're having a baby, all the things, whatever the reason is, you can't think straight. Sometimes you can have decision fatigue. This is like you have so many decisions to make and you ain't even got the brain power to do it. You're like, y'all, we eating cereal, you're lucky to have cereal, the standards have lowered. I honestly can't even think. Or another problem comes and it's like, this is past my ability to deal with this. And actually recently I was in a long period of survival mode. I was having ridiculous amounts of things going wrong. I mean, just like everything I had was breaking. It was crazy. And I remember it was like one final thing came and it was gonna be $1,000 to fix or something. And as they say in Italian, it was the drop that overflowed the bowl. And I remember it like pushed me over into this place where I was like, I'm just so unimpressed by all my problems. I just have so many problems and I'm just so unimpressed by them. And I just like settled into that place and was like, okay, I'm not making a decision about this because I can't think straight. So if you're in survival mode, don't try to make huge decisions unless it's a decision that's gonna get you out of survival mode. When you're in these long times of this just craziness, you just can't think straight. The second thing moms just can't do when they're in survival mode, and that is to be like the extra fun mom. I had somebody ask, recently, like, if you're feeling overwhelmed, how do you be like the fun mom? And the answer is, you don't. You can't. You can occasionally pull a rabbit out of the hat and be like, that's it, load up. We're gonna go ignore our problems and go have a fun day at the park or whatever. And you can't do that. And in fact, you should do that if that will help you. But if you're just perpetually in a place of survival mode, you just aren't going to be able to be a fun mom because that's not the energy you're living in. You're living in a place of stress, disorder, depression, anxiety, whatever the case may be. It's not like you're gonna be like, kids, we're doing a scavenger hunt. We're gonna do it like a countdown calendar and we're gonna do an advent calendar and we're gonna paint pumpkins and we're gonna make our own garland. You can say we're gonna do all these things. You're not gonna have the energy to do it because when you're in survival mode or you're in a crisis, you ain't got no energy left over. All of your energy goes into just trying to be okay in the moment and survive and keep the kids alive. If you're in this stage of life and you have any guilt around not being able to be the fun mom, that's the first thing that should go because that's a heavy burden. We want to lift that burden. We got to get rid of that. First of all, anything that gives you more burdens is just burying you deeper, right? We got to get unburied. And I talk a lot about this in my book, If Mama Ain't Happy, Why Minding Healthy Boundaries is Good for Your Whole Family, because boundaries are essentially what can help pull us out. Now, if the survival mode is because there's a crisis, a health crisis, these situational things, and you know they're gonna pass, that's different. If you're in survival mode or like perpetual sense of overwhelm, and it's not situational in the sense that it has a time where you know that it's gonna end, this is when you're really gonna have to work on your boundaries and living within them. So of course I'll link it below and you can get it anywhere you can buy a book. This will help you kind of come out of that place. The third thing that moms really can't do when they're in survival mode, and that is add to family life. It's not like we're gonna make goals. We're gonna work too as a family. No, you're not volunteering at a soup kitchen when you can barely get out of bed in the morning. It's not happening. This is no shame. This is me telling you, yeah, of course you can't go do those things. Duh. You can barely make it through the day. What are you gonna like have the whole kids out like witnessing on the street corner? No, you're not gonna do these things because you can barely make it through. When you're doing well and all your needs are met and you're doing basically okay, this is when you kind of move up, I guess, the Maslow's hierarchy. You can move up into other things that might not be as necessary to survive but are fulfilling. You might go help out in your community. You might be doing more fun stuff. You might introduce the kids to some concepts that aren't necessary for survival, but that are like cultivating their interest. These are more refined areas of life that come after life is in order. If life is not in order, you're not gonna go lead like the Wildlife Conservation Society. Ain't happening unless it's your job. You're just not gonna do it because you don't have the energy because all your energy is going into not running away. The fourth things moms in survival mode really struggle to do, and that that is being present. So I have a video on that I'll link in the iCard in the description, and this really resonated with moms. You honestly can't be that present when you're in survival mode. When I say be present, it's like be present with what you're doing with your kids, because when you're in survival mode, your nervous system's on high, your anxiety's on high, your brain's spinning around, and you're just like, I gotta get out of here. Like, whatever's happening here, it ain't jiving with me. I ain't liking this. I'm gonna go somewhere else. I'm gonna detach from my problems. They're sort of heavy, and I'm gonna go over here. And by nature, when you're in survival mode, it is so hard to be present. Conversely, and painfully, often the way to get out of survival mode is to stay present long enough to feel whatever's going on. It helps pave the way for change. Sometimes, the more we want to escape, that is a sign the more we need to stay put until we have some solutions show up, until we have some realizations, until some scales fall off our eyes and say, you know what? This way that we're going ain't sustainable, and I'm not going to be able to keep doing it. So if you struggle with being present, it's no wonder. If you're in perpetual survival mode, it's nearly impossible to be present. It just really is. Even that connecting with the kids, the joy of that, the ease, and all that comes when the bedrock of life is solid and secure. And if you don't feel like the bedrock of life is solid and secure, that's where all of your energy is going. It's going on thinking and ruminating and problem solving and obsessing and navel gazing, because you're like, life's not stable, we're all gonna die. And so when your insides are telling you this, you're not like, let's sit down and talk about Pokemon or Barbies. It just is gonna be harder. You can still make yourself do it, and I'm sure you do make yourself do it. We all do. But if you're feeling guilty for feeling difficulty in being present, it's no wonder. The fifth things that moms really can't do well when they're in survival mode is to love others and serve others well outside the home. So this is something that if you're in survival mode, you need to get out of commitments. You need to get out of extra things you're doing outside the home. You honestly just need to stop them. Just stop, cancel. Sorry, I can't do that anymore. You're gonna have to find somebody else. In a month's time is the last time I'm gonna be able to do this. I'm sorry, I'm having a crisis. All of these are things that you can say or do to get out of those commitments. There's two things. We want to be able to love and serve and do for others. We don't want to feel like our life is entirely self-centered, okay? And that is this is how it is. We don't want to be like this. But the more that we avoid taking care of what's going on, the less we're actually able to love and serve others anyway. I have a whole video on this about how ignoring our needs actually makes us more selfish, because they just bubble under, and then we start to feel resentful. It's like everybody wants a piece of me. Instead of just being able to take care of ourselves well, and from that place of peace and ease, we can love and serve others. If we force ourselves down to try to go do that, doesn't have good fruit. Bad result. If you're in a perpetual survival mode that has no end in sight because it's not situational, say you're 3 weeks postpartum and you know, baby, you'll sleep through the night here pretty soon, and so then this is situational. If it's something else and it's just perpetually happening, it has to be addressed. You have to be able to dive into it before you can worry about everybody else. And the last things that moms can't do when they're in survival mode, or I'm gonna say what moms should not do, is to guilt and shame yourself. We're so good at this. We are so good at making ourselves feel guilty, and I realized it was like an extreme coping mechanism I had to motivate myself to be a good mom by telling myself what a horrible mom I was. I'm a genius. I would lay in bed and say, that was just so bad. You're such a bad mom. You're just damaging these kids. Because deep down I thought, that'll help me tomorrow. Of course, that's all ridiculous and just made me feel bad. However, these are the types of things our psyche come up with. I go into this a lot in my book because it's like moms feel bad and then they shame themselves for feeling bad. They feel double bad. We want to not do this. And there's no guilt, no shame. Okay, you gotta drop all of those secondary emotions that are being extra burdens on you while you're in survival mode. Then you can sit in that place of survival mode-ness, overwhelming emotions, and you can let yourself be overwhelmed by them enough that you're getting them out. Even crying is healing. Like, I love to cry. I love it. If I feel a bit anxious, I'll often go put on worship music and just cry because that helps me release it. So you want to get these emotions out. You want to journal. Figure out what it is that's keeping you in survival mode. You probably know what it is. You know what it is. Sitting in the place of knowing what it is helps you then determine your next steps. So I hope I've lifted some burdens off you, helped you feel like you're not alone. Although you might be alone, you're not alone. This is a common thing that moms can go through. And if you're wondering what exactly is going on in life that could be causing you to feel like this, I encourage you to check out my next video on things that really make moms miserable. Till next time.